Hello and welcome to Passing Priority. My name is Mike and today I have a budget deck built around a Simic commander that will have us following the clues to victory. Lonis, Cryptozoologist, is a legendary snake elf scout that costs only a green and a blue, and whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, we investigate. This means we will create an artifact token named Clue, which we can pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw a card. Lonis also has another ability that lets us sacrifice any number of clues. Then we may have an opponent reveal that many cards from the top of their library, and we may put a non-land permanent with mana value equal to or less than the number of clues we sacrificed onto the battlefield under our control. The deck we have today wants to make as many clues as possible, and use them for value and win by beating our opponents with big creatures we steal from them. And this deck can be put together for around $50. Let's start our investigation by getting a lay of the land and looking at our ramp. Rampant Growth, Cultivate and Kadama's Reach are our starting point for ramp if we are in green, fetching a basic land to the battlefield, and in the case of Cultivate and Kadama's Reach, one to hand as well. A Mirrored Landscape and Blighted Woodland sit in our mana base, providing us some ramp without taking away a card slot. Since our commander cares about creatures entering the battlefield, we also have Wood Elves and Farhaven Elf. Both creatures will fetch us a land from our deck to the battlefield as they enter, and if our commander is out, make us a clue as well. Weirding Wood is an enchantment we will enchant one of our lands with. It will allow that land to tap for 2 mana instead of 1, but it will also make a clue on entering the battlefield. A Magnifying Glass is a mana rock that can also create a clue for 5 mana if we include tapping itself. Not the best rate, but good utility to have. And our last piece of ramp is Academy Manufactor, who whenever we create a clue will also give us a food and a treasure token. Now we've scouted out the land, it's time to gather more information, and to do that we'll need to draw some cards. Artificer's Epiphany and Tezzeret's Ambition are both very similar cards, drawing us cards, but if we don't control an artifact, we will need to discard a card. Thoughtcast has affinity for artifacts, meaning it will become cheaper the more clues we have, meaning this could end up as 1 blue to draw 2 cards. Scholar of Stars will draw us a card on entering the battlefield if we control an artifact, and if we have our commander out, we will make a clue token as Scholar of Stars enters the battlefield, meaning we will always have an artifact to draw a card. Muldrifter is a 5 mana draw 2, but we can voke it out for just 2 and a blue, making this a 3 mana draw 2 and make a clue. And we have Quicksmith Spy, who on entering the battlefield will grant any single artifact the ability to tap and draw us a card. We can have this ability be added to the clue that it makes when it enters the battlefield, or to any other clue we already have out. We can obviously sacrifice our clue tokens to their own ability to draw cards, but we have some better ways to turn them into cards. We have both Merchant Dockhand and Glacian Powerstone Engineer. Both creatures have very similar abilities, being able to tap themselves and any number of artifacts to look at that many cards from the top of our library and put one into our hand. This ability is far less powerful than our commander, but works well in conjunction with it, as Lonis doesn't care if the artifacts we sacrifice are tapped or untapped, meaning we can use this to get extra value from them before using our commander. Even better though is Shimmer Dragon, being able to tap any 2 of our artifacts to draw a card. This is our most powerful draw effect in the deck, which also makes it a big part of our budget, but definitely worth it. We have some other ways to sacrifice our clues that will draw us a card more efficiently. Sage of Latnam and Trading Post both can sacrifice an artifact to draw a card. Trading Post will cost us 1 mana instead of 2 for a clue, but also has a small selection of other abilities that may be useful at different points in the game. And Sage of Latnam brings its own clue to sacrifice if our commander is out. And finally, we have Tamiyo's Journal. The normal drawback of having to wait 3 turns as we amass enough clues to activate the second ability to search our library and get any card we want to hand should not be a problem in this deck. Plus this will also generate us a clue on each of our upkeeps. And like Tamiyo's Journal, we don't want to just rely on our commander being our only source of clues. So let's have a look at some of the other informants our commander will use to help us reach our goals. No detective looking for clues would go far without a trusty hound helping them out, and our commander is no different. Floodhound is a 1 mana elemental dog that can investigate for 3 mana. Daring Sleuth will flip the first time we sacrifice a clue by any means, becoming Bearer of Overwhelming Truths, which will investigate each time it deals combat damage to a player, And Briarbridge Patrol will do the same. And on each end step, if we have sacrificed 3 clues, Briarbridge Patrol will allow us to put a creature card from our hand onto the battlefield. And ongoing investigations will investigate whenever we deal combat damage to an opponent with 1 or more creatures. Wave Sifter is very similar to Muldrifter from earlier, entering the battlefield and investigating twice, but we can evoke it out for only 2 mana. With our commander, this is 3 clues for 2 mana, a very good rate. Lastly, we have Erdwald Illuminator, doubling up the first time we investigate each turn. Our commander wants to see creatures entering the battlefield under our control to generate clues, but sometimes in our investigations the same faces keep popping up. We have a series of creatures that can either blink themselves or return themselves to our hand to recast. Each time one of these creatures enters, we will get a clue. A Shrieking Drake is our cheapest, only costing 1 blue. When it enters, it will generate us a clue, but forces us to return a creature from the battlefield to our hand. It can target itself with this ability and return itself to our hand, meaning we can keep repeating this cycle for as long as we have blue mana to keep making clues. The same is true for Dreamstalker, Aether Adept, Man-O-War and Aether Snipe. And it's worth noting at this point, we can cast Aether Snipe for its evoke cost and order the triggers so we bounce it back to hand before its evoke sacrifice trigger resolves. We have some creatures that blink themselves to get extra triggers from our commander. These are Aetherling and Argent Sphinx, which do so for just 1 blue mana. And there is a combination here that is very useful. Lonis, Shrieking Drake and Academy Manufactor can cause infinite enter the battlefield triggers and make infinite clues and food, by using the treasure that Academy Manufacture makes to keep recasting Shrieking Drake. And finally we have Kogla, the Titan Ape, a creature that doesn't bounce itself, but can return a human to our hand for 2 mana. This deck does have 9 humans, most with good enter the battlefield effects we would like to get again. Now we have gathered enough clues, it's time to start ending our investigations. If we can't get some of our opponent's creatures onto our side, we may need to make our clues work for us instead. Whenever we send Animating Fairy on an adventure, casting Bring to Life for 2 and a blue, we will turn one of our clues into a 0/0 creature and put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. Workshop Elder does the same, making one of our clues a 0/0 creature and adding 4 +1/+1 counters to it. But Workshop Elder makes this happen at the beginning of our combat. She also gives all our artifact creatures flying, being great evasion and a way to make our smaller creatures more relevant. A Skilled Animator will turn a clue into a 5/5 creature for as long as Skilled Animator remains on the battlefield. An Ensoul artifact will do the same in enchantment form. Rise and Shine, however, will animate all our clues, making them all 4/4 creatures when we cast it for its overload cost. And Rampage the Clan will replace everyone's artifacts and enchantments with 3/3 centaurs. This may give some players a few creatures in exchange for their mana rocks, but we should end up with a small army to rampage over everyone else. If we don't want to animate our clues, we have some creatures that will take advantage of them. Shambling Suit, Master of Ethereum, Filigree Attendant, Darksteel Juggernaut, and Broodstar are all creatures that have power equal to the number of artifacts we control. These are our big finishing creatures to close out a game. We may need some way to help our big creatures or our animated army get through, so we have Brawn and Wonder. We want to get these cards into our graveyard, and then as long as we control a forest or an island, Brawn will give our creatures trample, and Wonder gives our creatures flying. Crashing Drawbridge is an artifact creature, which will help pump our big artifact matters creatures, but can tap to provide our team haste. Useful, as if we animate a clue that entered the battlefield this turn, it won't be able to attack without haste. And we have Whirler Rogue, making 2 Thopters on entering the battlefield, and being able to tap any 2 untapped artifacts we control to make a creature unblockable, another way to use our clues to help us end the game. Finally, let's look at ways to remove any obstacles we come across in our investigation. Beast Within is our most universal answer, getting rid of any problematic permanent at the cost of giving its owner a 3/3 beast. And Pongify, Rapid Hybridization and Reality Shift are our 3 creature removal spells. We also have some removal attached to creatures. Caustic Caterpillar will sacrifice itself to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and Reclamation Sage and Foundation Breaker will do the same but on entering the battlefield. Manglehorn will destroy an artifact, but has the added upside of causing all our opponent's artifacts to enter the battlefield tapped. Each time Trigon Predator deals combat damage to an opponent, we will destroy an artifact or enchantment they control. Counterspell is our only counterspell to deal with anything we think may become a problem in the future. Unwhelming Wave is our only board wipe that will return all non-sea creatures back to each player's hand, in most cases bouncing everything. But before we finish, let's look at some cards that just got away from this budget deck. Amphin Mutineer is a great creature removal on a body, exiling a creature and giving a clue. Tezzeret Cruel Machinist can animate one of our artifacts temporarily each turn, as well as being able to tick up to draw us cards. Second Harvest is a one-shot effect that would double the amount of clues we have on the board. Thought Monitor is a second Muldrifter, with affinity for artifacts and being an artifact itself fits very nicely with all our artifact synergies. And a clue deck really should have the clue maker of Tireless Tracker, making a clue for each land drop and pumping itself each time we sacrifice a clue. And of course, Doubling Season and Parallel Lives would be great upgrades if we had access to them. And there we have it, our budget Lonis Cryptozoologist deck. A link to the deck list can be found in the description. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave me a like and don't forget to subscribe. And a question for everyone watching. How much should a budget deck be? $50? $100? Let me know in the comments below, as more budget decks are being planned for the future. Thank you for listening, and goodbye for now. And of course, Doubling Season and Parallel